Senator Warren, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Austin, under your leadership, the United States has made preventing civilian harm a top priority. You have repeatedly said that it is both a moral and a strategic imperative. I have pressed the DoD to take this issue more seriously for years, and in 2022, DoD issued its Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Action Plan, which directs the department to systematically take steps to prevent, mitigate, and respond to civilian harm. Policy makes clear that we expect our military partners to prioritize civilian harm prevention as well. Since October, Israeli strikes have killed over 30,000 Palestinians. The majority of them are women and children. Rafah has become the latest refuge of Palestinian civilians, is now home to more than 1.4 million people. Given the number of civilians there, the Biden administration has repeatedly urged Israel not to attack Rafah, saying that doing so would be, quote, a disaster. Secretary Austin, do you think an attack on Rafah that kills another 30,000 civilians would enhance either U.S. or Israeli security?
Thanks, Senator. There's no question that there have been far too many civilian casualties in this conflict, far too many. And what we continue to emphasize to the Israelis is that civilians in that battle space need to be not only evacuated, but properly taken care of once they're evacuated out of that battle space before anything is contemplated. And this is a point that I have stressed with my counterpart on a number of occasions. Just recently, it's yesterday, and again, it cannot be going forward what we've seen in the past in terms of the type of activities that we've seen in Gaza City and in Khan Yunis. Far too many civilians have been killed as a result of combat operations, and they need to get civilians out of that battle space around Rafah.
All right. So the United States has an important responsibility here because we are the ones giving the Israeli Defense Forces the bombs that they are using to destroy homes and hospitals and refugee camps. At the president's direction, through his February National Security Memorandum, the Department of Defense and the State Department are currently assessing whether Israel is in compliance with international humanitarian law. There are serious concerns that Israel is not complying with international humanitarian law. According to recent investigations by Plus 972 and The Guardian, Israeli intelligence officials allege that the IDF often deliberately prefers to wait until its targets are at home among their children and neighbors to launch a strike. Secretary Austin, I understand that civilians are often at risk in a time of war. But would the United States systematically choose to execute on military strikes that are more likely to kill civilians, including children?
Absolutely not, just the opposite. We routinely go out of our way to make sure that we do everything we can to minimize civilian casualties. Even with that, even with extraordinary efforts, there will be collateral damage and casualties from time to time, but it's something that we really work hard to prevent.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Secretary. U.S. policy explicitly states that we expect our allies to meet the same standards that we do to prevent and mitigate civilian harm. Israel is failing to do that in its bombing campaign. Under your leadership, DoD has made significant progress in putting policies in place to protect civilians. But we also need to push our closest allies to meet the same standard and to cut off U.S. support if they refuse to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Warren.